Hello, students. First level who are studying principles of economics. This is my first video for you, and it covers the Word document called Shireen_1 and Shireen_3. Remember, Shireen_1 was talking about introduction to the science of economics. It was named the economic problem. Shireen_3 was named opportunity cost, in addition to a section on explanation of the graphs and the use of mathematics in the science of economics. Again, the whole course, as I told you before, will be made and recorded on video, whether I cover it on class or I do not cover it in class, as I'm not going to be repeating any of my classes on Thursdays, because if I do so, remember we have a total of 12 lectures, because we're going to be, the teaching number of weeks is only 12. So if I do that, inshallah, I will take nothing. And that's why I cannot repeat, I cannot afford the repetition. And because of the coronavirus, I'm going to be recording the whole course, so you do not have to worry about attending classes or not. Of course, you are welcome to attend the classes, but remember, we do not like too many students there for the fear of the virus. So I'm going to cover here, whatever I'm going to be covering here will cover my first lecture for you and my second one. Remember, we met in the first week of classes and in the third week of classes, where in the second week of classes it was a day off. So I'm going to be covering what we covered in the two lectures, in addition to a little bit more. Okay, so this is an introduction to the science of economics and why we study economics and why economics is an important science for everyone to know. This is what we are trying to figure out, and in order for you to know why you are sitting in my class. Here we want to know, what does it mean, economics? Economics comes from the verb to economize, which we call it in Arabic نقتصد في استخدام الحاجة. To economize on the use of something means to use it optimally. And as you can see, I put the word to economize between parentheses, okay, بين قوسين, and I also did the same for the word optimally. The reason, because the word optimally and economize are technical words. They are not the words used by the layman or the ordinary man, the street man, your mother, your father, your brother, people who did not understand economics or did not study economics. Because usually, remember, when your mother tells you economize on the use of water, actually she means, from your point of view and from her point of view, is to use little of water. Actually, we do not mean by to economize. Economize does not mean using as little as possible of the resource. It doesn't mean that at all. Or it doesn't mean that you are using as little as possible of whatever you are talking about. It means do not waste what you are using. Do not waste what you are consuming. It means, for example, when you use water, when you open the tap, use it, brush your teeth, wash your face, and don't leave the water pouring and going down the drain with no use. You are shaving, for the males, for example, they are shaving and they are singing at the same time while water is pouring down from the tap. This is not economizing on the use of water. This is wasting water. A farmer, for example, who flood the fields, okay, using the flooding irrigation system, نظام الغمر اللي بيتكلموا عليه. It means that this farmer is actually wasting water, because the plants will get what they want and the rest will go down the drain into the groundwater system. It will be wasted. I know that the flooding system has other technical advantages, like leaching the soil, which is cleaning the soil from salts, but this is a different story, because everything that we do in life, every action that we do in life, has a good side and a bad side. One of the good sides of flooding the fields is that we clean the salts from the soil. The bad side is that we lose water, and we need water. We cannot afford to use all that much water, because huge amount of water are used in the flooding system. I am sorry, guys, for using English only. I'm trying to use Arabic only when it is completely necessary, for many reasons. Number one is to get used to listen to English, to get used to listening to the English language. Number two is that when you come to me in class, you ask me about what you do not understand. So your job when you listen to this lecture is that whatever you do not understand in terms of English or else, you tell me about it in class so I can explain it to you, because my job is to make your life easier. Okay, so here this is the meaning of the word economics. Optimally, we call it in Arabic أمثلية. Best there is given what you have, as it says here. Optimally means to use it the best way there is under the circumstances. Under the circumstances, it means given what you have. Because remember, when what you are given changes, then the best use will change. So here in economics, we talk about optimality. Optimality, it means that you are trying to maximize or minimize, which is optimize an objective function subject to a set of constraints. The constraints are called the circumstances. القيود اللي اسمها constraints are called the circumstances. Under circumstances, it means given what you have. It means في ظل المتاح. Because if what you have differs, then the best solution will differ. And the optimal solution will be different. We do not have an optimal solution. Remember, everything, as Albert Einstein said, everything is relative. Okay? Everything is relative. And as I told you in class, everything is relative because when you talk about anything, you are comparing that thing to something else. The only thing that is not relative is God. When we say God is the greatest, we don't say is the greatest to compare to something else, because it is the only absolute thing in life. Other than that, everything is relative. This place is beautiful. It means beautiful compared to some other places. This girl is tall. It means she is tall relative to the students and her age in this country at this time, at this era, at this age, and so on. There is a long story. This person is intelligent. Again, you are comparing him to others. We don't have somebody who is intelligent in absolute, or beautiful in absolute, or tall in absolute, or short in absolute, or anything like that. And if you don't trust me, trust at least Albert Einstein, who developed the relativity theorem. Okay, so optimality here means the best use of the resource. Why do I keep saying resource? What is a resource? A resource is something, it comes from two parts, re and the source. Source, it means the source of something, مصدر الحاجة. Re is used in the English language to repeat. So resource, which we call it in Arabic mawrid, it means that it is something that provides the services for us, for humans, for a long period of time. Okay, for example, the Nile River is a resource. Okay, remember, people over thousands of years kept withdrawing water from the Nile and using the Nile water. And Alhamdulillah, we still have the Nile. And we pray to God that the Nile will stay forever. Okay, given the Renaissance Ethiopian Grand Dam that we are talking about. Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. They call it GERD, G-E-R-D, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. We pray to God that we always get water from the Nile. The Nile is a resource. The amount of water the farmer uses in his, I'm going to assume I'm saying his because usually farmers are males. Okay, despite that in Africa this is not true, because in Kenya I know that the farmers and the farm managers are females. But the part of the resource that is used in a certain process is called input. Input بنسميها مدخل. Input, it means something that you put it in. The amount of input that you use it in any, which is a part of a resource usually, can disappear. Of course, it will take another form according to the theories of physics. But in general, inputs disappear. But resources, we pray to God that they never disappear, because the resources are gifts of God. And I'm talking here about natural resources, which is everything that God endowed planet Earth with all the way from the magma to the ozone layer. ربنا أنعم على كوكب الأرض بحاجة اسمها موارد طبيعية اللي هي natural resources. Endowed يعني gifted. يقول لك مثلا this girl is endowed with beauty. يعني ربنا حبق البنت دي بالجمال. Because definitely the girl did not do anything to make herself beautiful. She is beautiful by nature. Okay? This guy was endowed by intelligence. ربنا حبق هذا الإنسان with intelligence. So remember, he doesn't have any part to do with it. I know that there is genetics and there are other things, but usually these are gifts of God. Lionel Messi, for example, the superstar of Argentina, who plays for Football Club Barcelona, is endowed with skills. ربنا حباه بمهارات رهيبة. Okay, naturally. Nobody made him that good. He is that good, made by God. Okay, so here I hope this is now you got what is resource. Resources, what we call it mawar. These are the gifts of God. Okay, there are different types of resources that I don't want to go through now, because otherwise, inshallah, I will stay on this slide forever. Now we knew now what does it mean to economize. and we knew that it means that do not waste the valuable thing that you have, which is the resources. We know that optimally it means the best use of the resources given what you have. And I told you that if what you have differs, it changes, then the optimal use will change accordingly. Okay? Now we want to know what is the problem? Do we have a problem that it needs a science called the economics? And the answer is yes. We have something called the economic problem. What is the economic problem? They usually say the economic problem is a problem of scarcity and the choice. What does it mean? What is scarce? Resources are scarce. All the gifts of God, which are the resources and the gifts that God endowed and gifted planet Earth with, are limited in quantity, which means confined in quantity. Okay, limited in quantity or confined in quantity, it means that they are available in limited amounts. Okay, why limited? How did I know? Because planet Earth does not expand and does not shrink. كوكب الأرض لا بيزيد في الحجم ولا بيقل في الحجم. Okay, we know that the population on the planet increases. الناس اللي على الكوكب بيزيدوا. But the resources do not increase. Okay, what humans do in that case, we humans usually consume, okay, and use the resources that are close to the surface of the earth. Once they run out of these resources, they go deeper and deeper into the soil. Every time they go deeper and deeper, the cost of extraction, اللي هي تكلفة الاستخراج بتاعة المورد, and as a result, the cost of production keeps going up. And that's why prices in general keep going up. This is one of the theories that explain why, as time goes by, the general price level or prices in general for most goods and the services that we consume, the prices of which go up. This is one of the explanations of that. So we know that resources are scarce. Here we defined, before I forget, because resources are scarce, we have to make choices. Okay? We have to make choices. When you have to make a choice, it means that you have alternatives. You have so many things that you can choose out of. And as you will see later on, this will encounter what we'll know as a sacrifice. ده هيؤدي إلى حدوث حاجة اسمها تضحية. Okay? Even if your choice is the best choice, there is still a sacrifice. But we will talk about that later when we talk about opportunity cost. Here we said, I'm elaborating more on the scarcity issue. So I said here we have finite amount of resources on the planet. كمية محدودة من الموارد في كوكب الأرض. Okay? But we have infinite human wants and limited human needs. What are the needs? As I told you in class, the needs are the things that we cannot live without, that humans cannot live without. Okay? A want is something that you really desire, but you can live without. Okay? Examples of that are a lot. Food, shelter, and clothing, these are needs. Everybody needs to eat and drink, definitely, and everybody needs to wear clothing because you cannot walk naked in the street, and everybody needs a shelter. A shelter is a home that a cover. Humans and animals, they have the instinct and the habit that they need something over their heads, a ceiling. Otherwise, you cannot sleep. Okay, and that's why we live in apartments, and we live in every apartment. Everything has a ceiling. Okay, infinite, it means that uncountable. So many wants. Just see what you dream of. These are your wants. Okay. So if I ask you, please tell me about your dreams, probably you will be talking forever. So you know that our human wants, اللي هي الرغبات الإنسانية, infinite معناها لا نهائية. But our needs اللي هي food, water, shelter, and the clothing, these are limited because, and here when I said about food, water, all that thing, I mean any type of food that will make you alive, any type of clothing that will make you covered, any type of shelter that will make you able to live without somebody attacking you from outside, an animal or something like that. That's what I mean by shelter. اللي بنسميها مأوى يعني. So here, and this is what I said here, needs are the things that we cannot live without. A want is something that you really desire, but you can live without. Okay? And you know, as time goes by, the wants change, because probably what was a need before can become a want, or what was a want before becomes a need. For example, let me tell you about mobile phones. I would classify mobile phones as needs, because sometimes they can save your life. Imagine, for example, an old person, 70 years old, walking in the street, a person like me, for example, walking in the street, and probably he felt pain in his chest. حس بألم بصدره. Okay, probably he can make a phone call to save his life. يا ابني الحقني, he can call his son, or I'm assuming that he's an old man like me, to tell him that please come to me, I'm in this area, please save my life. Okay, so a mobile phone, which we looked at it probably when it was first introduced in the late 1990s as a want, now it is a need. After that, after some time of introducing the mobile phones, we had smartphones, smart mobile phones. Smart mobile phones at a point in time were wants. You can live without a mobile. Remember, if I to call my son to save my life, I don't need a smartphone. Because I'm using it as a telephone. Now the telephone has so many things. It is like a computer. You are walking around with a computer because it's a smartphone. And as you can see, okay, probably a smartphone 5 years ago was not was a want, was not a need. Now a smartphone, I would call it a need. Look at you at school, for example. Remember, the whole course, now we have online lecturing and we have online materials. And this is the way you're going to listen to my lecture. How are you going to be listening to my lecture? Okay, probably you can listen to my lecture using your smartphone. And now by using Microsoft Teams, where all the lectures are uploaded on Microsoft Teams, if you don't have a smartphone, how can you listen to the lectures? So now I cannot classify mobile phones, smart mobile phones as wants. I would call it needs now. And who knows what will be in the future. So things do change, okay? Things do change as time goes by. And here I said after that, we say that most, if not all of the resources are scarce. Scarce means a finite in quantity given our needs and want. المورد عندنا النادر معناها انه محدود الكمية في ظل احتياجاتنا ورغباتنا. The opposite of the word scarce is the word abundant. Abundant means we have a lot and a lot and a lot of it. Okay? I'm going to go to the next slide. Here I said, in order, now you're going to be asking yourself what is scarce, what is not. So economists came up with something, because the word finite in quantity, محدود الكمية. What does it mean محدود الكمية given our needs and want? Please give me a number. I need a number. Okay? If you give me a number, I will be able to know. But don't tell me finite in quantity. محدود الكمية given our needs and wants. And you neither specify the needs and wants, and you nor specify our infinite, how infinite they are, given our needs and wants. You never specify anything. So here, economists came up. Economists, these are the people who are working in the field of economics. Economist is a person that is his profession or her profession is economics. معناها اقتصادي، راجل في مجال الاقتصاد يعني. اوكي، زي ما بقول engineering هندسة وانجينير مهندس. So some economists define a scarce resource by saying that any resource that has a price is scarce. Here, they made life easy for people, and they said that as long as you are paying money to obtain the resource, it means the resource is scarce. Anything you pay money for is scarce. Anything that you do not pay money for is not scarce. Okay, for example, sand in Egypt is not a scarce resource because it is everywhere. Because over 90% of Egyptian territories, geographical area, is sand. Okay, but sand is scarce in, for example, Canada. Okay, so water is scarce here, but probably water is not scarce in a country where rain is pouring all the time. And so as a result, groundwater aquifers اللي هي خزانات المياه الجوفية get charged all the time. بيحصل لها شحن طول الوقت وبتتملي. So here I hope that the African students, I don't know how many we have, I hope that, or people who do not know Arabic, I don't know also how many we have, they understand the Arabic in between. Anyway, the Arabic is a repetition of what I said in English, so do not worry about that. You are not missing anything. Okay? I know that the people who are studying, who came out from Arabic schools, they are complaining about me, and probably they do not understand everything that I say. But as I told them before, just listen, read, and ask. If you do that with me all the time, I can guarantee to you by end of November, you will not need anything, and you will get the feeling that the English that you read probably looks like Arabic to you. Okay, so all what you need to do is to know the meaning of the word. I'm trying to repeat the terminology to tell you what it is in Arabic, and also, but remember, I might miss something, so your job is to remind me, please, what does it mean, because sometimes things that are difficult for you I might not figure them out, and I believe they are easy. So please be very careful with that. So we said here, remember everything we pay. How many free things do we have? Actually, if you think about what the definition here, if you think about that definition right here, okay, about saying that a source is anything that has a price is scarce, okay, you'll see that everything has a price, everything you pay money for except the air we breathe. Currently, the air we breathe, okay, الهواء اللي بنتنفسه, is the only free resource we have. Remember, we cannot live without air, so it is a very important resource. But we do not pay money for it, thank God. Somebody will tell me, Doctor, now we are paying money to breathe because now I have to buy masks, and the masks are expensive, okay? And probably if I do not buy a mask, I might get sick and die. So in that case, can I consider the price of the mask the price of consuming or breathing clean air? I can tell you, yes, it is correct. If you say that, you are not wrong. But what we are worried about as in economics, as economists, not that we buy masks, you know, they are a pieces of clothes anyway, and they are not that expensive. What we are worried about is that probably one day the planet Earth air becomes so much polluted that in order for you to breathe and survive, you need to buy not a mask, you need to buy something that allows you to breathe, just like the science fiction movie, زي أفلام الخيال العلمي بالظبط. Okay, and they made a lot of them. If you do not wear the mask, now the mask is not something that covers your nose and mouth. If you don't cover the mask that enables you to, that mask will work as a filter to the air. So if because so much pollution in the air requires a filter, and that mask will contain a filter, and that mask will be very, very expensive. Okay, so this is a type of thing that we can say that the air is probably the only free resources that we currently have. Free resource, it means not a scarce resource. Free resource معناها resource that you do not pay money to obtain it. It is available for free and available ببلاش. Okay? And here we said that resources are not only scarce, we have another problem that adds to the economic problem. We have another problem that adds to our economic problem, which is resources are not only scarce, but every resource has so many uses. So I want to know as a human being how much of that resource I should allocate here, and how much of that resource I should allocate there, and how much of that resource I should allocate there. The word allocation, it means how much of the resource you are using in a certain thing. بنسميها بالعربي تخصيص. تخصيص مش خصخصة، خد بالك، مش privatization. تخصيص, allocation, it's a technological word. It's a technical word that we use in economics to indicate how much of the resource is used in a certain use. For example, the farmer, let us say we have a farmer that grows 3 winter crops. Okay, he needs water. Okay, water is expensive. By the way, we pay for water, but that's a different story. I'm not going to go for it. Don't think that water is free. Water is not free, because the government makes farmers pay for the electricity, and if they do not pay electricity, water will not be there. Okay, so it has an implicit price, but not an explicit price. And ده سعر ضمني مش سعر ظاهر. But anyway, this is not the issue I'm talking about. I'm talking here about each resource. If the farmer has 3 crops, for example, to grow in winter, each one of them needs water. How much water he will devote to crop number 1, how much water he will devote to crop number 2, how much water he will devote to crop number 3. This is called the allocation of the input water that is part of the resource water. And we call that allocation. ALLOCATING. You will see that 1 million times. Or allocation, ALLOCATION. I talked about allocating, okay? But you will see that 1 million times in our course. And it's in the definition of the science of economics that we will see later on. Now, after we explained the economic problem, remember the economic problem, what is so drastic about the economic problem? Somebody will tell me, يا عمي, يعني, you are explaining what a problem is. Every one of us know what a problem is. I'm going to tell him, no, يا حبيبي. You guys do not know what a problem is. Your imagination of what a problem is actually the opposite of the word problem in the science of economics. I told you the example, remember in our class, I told you that you went home after a long studying day and your mother told you that she cooked rice. Okay, I'm simplifying things. I know that rice will be eaten with other things, but just imagine she cooked rice and you hate rice, and she told you that you cannot order in and you cannot eat out. But remember, you have to, here we say that, here you will tell me that, yeah, doctor, I have a big problem. In economics, you have no problem at all because there is no choice to make. Okay, as long as there is no choice to make, there is no problem. Okay, and remember the Tariq ibn Ziyad historical story that I told you about in class, about when he and his soldiers Tariq ibn Ziyad was a great Islamic leader. When he and his soldiers one day, they were facing an enemy and they were running away from the enemy, so they found out they have water in front of them and the enemy was behind them. So the soldiers started mumbling and grumbling. Tariq ibn Ziyad figured out that his soldiers are panicking and they are worried that they are dying imminently. They will die imminently, they will die anyway. So Tariq ibn Ziyad, because from his point of view, because he knew economics, he said that guys, soldiers, there is nothing to worry about. Remember, if we go to the sea, all of us will die for sure. But if we face the enemy, we might beat the enemy. Okay? So we will not die for sure. So he told them, guys, just stop mumbling and grumbling and just face the enemy. We do not have a problem. We do not have a choice. We do not have anything to worry about. We have to face what we have. Okay? And I told you that in Arabic in class, as I remember it when I was young. أيها الناس أين المفر؟ العدو من أمامكم والبحر من خلفكم وليس ثمن والله إلا الصدق والصبر فهما لا يهزمان وهما جندان منصوران. This is in Arabic. I'm sorry again for the people who do not understand Arabic, but this is something in the history, and I studied history, unfortunately, at least when I was very young in Arabic. I don't remember what was that. I don't even remember if we studied that in my British school when I was young or not. I have no idea. So this is to tell you that the economic problem is a problem that you have scarce resources on the one hand, infinite human wants on the other hand. In between, each resource has so many alternative uses. We have to make choices, and while we make choices, every time we make choices, no matter how good that choice is, we have to face and encounter a sacrifice. Okay, as we will see later on. كل مرة بتعمل فيها اختيار بتعمل فيها تضحية. Now, after finishing that small introduction about this part, we're going to talk about because remember, I'm telling you here why we are studying economics. Remember the title of the lecture. So what are the sciences types? Sciences are two types: natural sciences and social sciences. علوم طبيعية وعلوم اجتماعية. Example of natural sciences are biology, okay, chemistry, botany, mathematics, astronomy, علم الفلك, etc. إلى آخره. Examples of social sciences include sociology, علم الاجتماع, economics, philosophy, psychology, etc. Okay? A social science concentrates on the behavior of the human. Okay? We study the behavior of the human. In other words, how do humans make decisions? This is what we study in economics. In social sciences, but remember, in sociology, they study marriage and divorce. In psychology, they study why criminals are criminals. In philosophy, I don't know what they study because I have no idea about philosophy, but again, you want to know why Socrates did this and why Socrates did that and all these kind of things. Okay? A social science concerns the behavior of humans. In social science, the focus of attention is the human being, الإنسانية. Okay? In what is now applied, okay, and somebody will tell me what is a natural science. A natural science, it means that your existence as a human being in the science has no value. As I told you in class, in chemistry, they tell you that if you add 2 units of hydrogen to 1 unit of oxygen, you will get water. They never specify that Shireen will get water, but Aliya will get Pepsi or something else. It doesn't matter who you are. Every time you add 2 units of hydrogen to 1 unit of oxygen, every time you will get water. It doesn't matter who you are. This is called a natural science. The first derivative of the function y is a function of x is delta y divided by delta x. Or limit delta y divided by delta x when delta x approaches 0, which is dy by dx. They never tell you that this is the first derivative of the function because you are Muhammad. But if you are Ali, it is different. Here, this is a natural science. It doesn't matter your nature as a human being doesn't exist in our story. Regardless of who you are, where you are, in what country, what religion do you adopt, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay? If you add this to that, you get this. 1 plus 1 equal 2. They don't say 1 plus 1 equal 2 if Shireen counts that, but if it's equal to 5 if somebody else counts that. Okay, this is an example of a natural science. Remember, in social sciences, it all depends on the human. Not only on the human. Like for me now, if I'm hungry, I go to a food court. Today, probably I will buy McDonald's. Okay, because it is 3 o'clock. Probably if I go to the same food court at 9 o'clock, I will not necessarily go to McDonald's at all. And if I go to the same store, McDonald's, I will not probably buy the Big Mac that I bought at 3 o'clock. Okay, so humans are different. Even the same human being is different given different times and different circumstances. Okay, and that's why sometimes you crave for something and sometimes you don't want to see it. crave for something هتموت على حاجه نفسك تاكلها. تيجي مره ثانيه مش طايق تشوفها. Okay, why? Because you are a human being. Also another classification of sciences, we have pure sciences and applied sciences. Pure sciences اللي بنسميها العلوم البحته. Applied sciences بنسميها العلوم التطبيقيه. Examples of pure natural sciences, okay, biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, okay. Examples of applied natural sciences, animal production, because in animal production you have the theory of zoology, you have the science of zoology, علم الحيوان, and you are applying that, the principles of the science of zoology on breeding and producing animals, meat and milk and wool and so on, okay. Without knowing zoology, you cannot be an animal production specialist. Entomology, علم الحشرات, again it requires the knowledge of biology and zoology, okay. Pesticides, لو علم المبيدات, okay, or pesticide chemistry, what we call it pesticides. Pesticides, it's all about chemistry. In order to understand the pesticides and to be a pesticide expert, خبير حشرات وخبير مبيدات, you've got to know chemistry, okay. Agricultural economics is an applied science, okay, but not a pure science, okay. As they tell you here, in pure sciences you study theory only. They do not tell you what is the use of that theory, and no wonder when you were young in school, your teachers kept telling you when you ask them about why do we study y is a function of x, why you study delta y divided by delta x and call it first derivative, what is the importance of first derivative in our life? The teacher, as I told you in our class, doesn't have the time to tell you that, okay. It is because if he spends time or if she spends time on explaining why, inshallah she will never finish the course, okay. And remember, they have to follow, they are not university professors. University professors can decide what the course is. Okay, if I tell you that the whole course is 2 lectures, nobody can tell me why and why not. But if I am a teacher in senior high or junior high or primary school, I cannot tell you, sorry, ya جماعة, we're going to fall in love with the science, so I'm going to explain why and why not. But we will never finish the course. I cannot do that, because if I do that, the Ministry of Education will fire me. Okay, I have an agenda that I have to finish. I have a course that I have to finish. It is not up to me, it's up to the Minister of Education. In pure sciences, you study theory only. In applied sciences, you study how to apply the pure sciences to solve real life problems. Okay, I hope that everything is clear. Okay, now we're going to talk about an example of a pure social science and an applied social science. Economics is a pure social science. Agricultural economics is applied social science. Agribusiness is another applied social science. Economics is the social pure science that deals with allocating. I told you the meaning of allocating. تخصيص, توزيع, use of scarce resources amongst their competing uses, يعني في ظل استخداماتهم البديلة العديدة in order to satisfy human wants and needs, عشان نشبع رغباتنا الإنسانية من الرغبات ومن الاحتياجات, and to increase their welfare, عشان نزود الرفاهية بتاعت الإنسان. Okay? In economics, we learn economic theory. It has so many branches. Okay? As you will see later on, we're going to talk about it, inshallah, in the other set of slides, microeconomics and macroeconomics, and the different branches of economics. Okay? In agricultural economics, we learn how to apply economic theory to solve economic problems in the agriculture sector. The agriculture sector is full of, remember, this is the sector that provides us with food, along with other products. Remember, the agricultural sector or the industry of agriculture provides the humans with 2 types of things. Agricultural outputs, examples like for example the wood, الخشب اللي بنستخدمه, the rubber, البطاط اللي بنستخدمه, the linen, الكتان اللي بنستخدمه, the cotton, القطن اللي بنستخدمه. Okay, these are all examples of agricultural things. Okay, but we also have food. If you can live without natural rubber, لو تقدر تعيش من غير مطاط طبيعي, if you can live without natural wood, خشب طبيعي, okay. If you can't live without cotton clothing, okay, then don't tell me that you can live without food, because agriculture provides us with something that only agriculture can provide us with, which is food. Because remember, for other agricultural products, people tried to produce what is called synthetic things, اللي هي الحاجات المصنعة. Okay, so you don't have to wear cotton clothing, you can wear synthetic type of clothing اللي هو المتصنع وخلاص ومشي حالك. Okay. So in economics, we learn how to apply economic theory to solve economic problems in the agriculture sector. Agriculture is a very important sector, very, very important sector, if not the most important sector, because nobody can live without food and drinks. Okay, and it has lots of problems. And the reason agricultural economics came to existence as a life was after the end of the Second World War. The Second World War was over at the year 1945. The Second World War was between 1939 and 1945. After the year 1945, when the war was over, lots of soils were destroyed, lots of farmers died in the war, and as a result, the world, especially Europe, experienced shortage of food. العالم كله بعد الحرب نتيجة ان التربة اتدمرت، التربة الزراعية اتدمرت، والفلاحين ماتوا في الحرب لانهم كانوا بيشتغلوا كعساكر، بقى في نقص في الأكل. And that's why the people decided that we have to have a science, a type of economics that concentrates solely on agriculture. And that's why agricultural economics came to existence and it became an important science after the year 1945. So here it says economics is a pure social science that deals with allocating scarce resources among competing uses of these resources in order to raise the welfare of people. Agricultural economics is an applied social science that deals with allocating scarce agricultural resources. Agricultural resources has another name that is called natural resources. Because remember, without nature you cannot produce. Okay, to the best of my knowledge, I know that we have technologies that allow us to produce without soil and without water and all that thing, but we cannot produce on commercial basis. ما نقدرش ننتج على نطاق تجاري. But we have some production like that without soil and without water. I know that. But this is not the commercial type of food production that will allow the world to feed itself. So agricultural economics is an applied social science that deals with allocating scarce resources among their competing alternative uses, استخداماتهم البديلة العديدة, to satisfy human wants and increase their welfare, just like the science of economics. What is agribusiness? Agribusiness is an applied. Agribusiness was, remember, imagine economics to be a woman who delivers babies. Okay, agricultural economics is the son of. So the economics, the woman that was called the economics got pregnant and she delivered agricultural economics in the year 1945. Okay. After that, in the early 1980s, and this is the time when I was in the United States studying for my PhD in the University of Minnesota, Minneapolis and St. Paul, they agricultural economics imagined that she was a girl before, delivered by a woman who was called the economics. Now agricultural economics became a woman because she got older, and she delivered a baby called agribusiness. It was, I think, in the year 1981, 1982. Okay? It could be 1983 as well. Why do we have agricultural economics? Because, as I told you, in the early 1980s, it was born in USA, by the way. Agribusiness. It's an American terminology that indicates agricultural business. Okay? It is the business of the agricultural production. It is the business. What is business? Business is any entity, أيقونية, that aims at making money, تعمل فلوس, and in the process they have to organize the work and to manage the work and to assume risk, because any business must contain risk. Remember, when you have a business, you can make a lot of money or you can lose a lot of money. Okay, so this is, now we have agribusiness, and I told you that examples of agribusiness, all of the food processing and drinks processing is agribusiness, and all of the furniture, for example, if you make wooden furniture, this is agribusiness. You make clothing out of linen and the cotton, this is agribusiness, and so on. Okay, anything that has an agricultural input or any agricultural substance, okay, is an agribusiness, because if you don't have that substance, لو ما عندكش المادة دي, you will not be able to produce anything at all. As it says here, the term was coined in the year 1957 by two people, Goldberg and Davis. Okay, this is one of the first. Okay, as I told you that it was created as a science in the early 1980s, but the term agribusiness existed in 1957. It includes agrichemicals, breeding, crop production, farming and contract farming, distribution, farm machinery, processing, and the seed supply, as well as marketing and retail sales. Okay, too many things. Any company that deals with agricultural or food items, it's called agribusiness. All agents of the food and the fiber, okay, remember food and fiber. Agriculture produces food وfiber. Fiber اللي هي الألياف. Okay, زي cotton, linen, okay, and these kind of things, okay. Also in addition to wood, okay. Fisheries are considered food, by the way, اللي هي مصايد الأسماك, because these are considered food because we use them. But remember, fisheries, also part of the fisheries could be used for entertainment, تستخدم للرفاهية, يعني إيه سوري للتسلية. Remember when you go into the sea in a yacht, راكب يخت وماشي في البحر, you do not aim at fishing, مش عايز تصطاد سمك ولا حاجة, but you want to enjoy the marine trip, عايز تستمتع بالرحلة البحرية دي. Okay, so all agents of the food and the fiber value chain and those institutions that influence it are part of the agribusiness. Here is telling you that everything that deals with agriculture, okay, is considered agribusiness. As long as you aim at producing something, when you sell it, you want to make money out of, so you have to organize your business or your kind of activity, and you need to assume risk, which means accept risk, knowing that probably you can make money and probably you can lose money. Within the industry of the agriculture, agribusiness is used simply as a portmanteau, okay? Portmanteau of agriculture and the business. Portmanteau means a mix of agriculture and business. Agriculture plus business means agribusiness, okay? The portmanteau tells you that. It refers to the range of activities and disciplines encompassed by modern food production. I said here modern food production is important because in the past we were not in need for agribusiness. But now things are getting very complicated and we have technologies and we have so many issues that are used in food production. Okay? And that's why we have a science that came out of the womb of agricultural economics. في عندنا علم خرج من الرحم بتاع agricultural economics in the early 1980s called agribusiness. There are academic degrees in and departments of agribusiness. Now if you can study, you can go abroad and you have a master's degree in agribusiness or a PhD degree in agribusiness. Agribusiness Trade Association, agribusiness publications, and so forth worldwide. Now it is growing and growing and growing, and it is actually getting very, very important. And that's why my department, which was called in the past the Department of Agricultural Economics, as of the year, I believe 2006, became the Department of Economics and Agribusiness, because we had to incorporate agribusiness. Lots of departments in the United States of America that were offering degrees in agricultural economics, they changed the name of agricultural economics to include agribusiness along with it. And a lot of them, they talk about now the department was called economics, Department of Resource Economics, Department of Economics and Agribusiness, Department of Agricultural Economics and Agribusiness, the part of environmental economics, and so many things like that. Now there are lots of changes happening worldwide, just like the changes in the name of the names of the colleges of agriculture. Okay, here in Egypt we still have the colleges of agriculture are called the colleges or faculties of agriculture. Abroad now they are different. They call them colleges of agriculture, life sciences and environmental sciences. These are most of the colleges of agriculture in the United States are called that way because agriculture is a way of life. It is not just a profession or an industry. It is much more than that. So now most of the colleges abroad are called the colleges of agriculture, life sciences and environmental sciences. علوم البيئة وعلوم الحياة والزراعة. Here we are done with Shireen 1. Now this is Shireen 2 that talks about opportunity cost, and it's as you can see here, opportunity cost ترجمتها بالعربي تكلفة الفرصة البديلة. Okay? It is a measure of sacrifice, as you will see. عبارة عن مقياس للتضحية. It is a very important concept in economics. Okay? It is actually the thing that differentiates between economics and science as a science and accounting as another science. I want to tell you that opportunity cost is probably the main difference between the science of economics and the science of accounting. الaccounting دي هي المحاسبة. Okay? It is a measure of sacrifices made by the different individuals or governments when making a certain choice. Remember, I told you that every time you make a choice, you sacrifice something. Remember, I gave you examples in my class. Okay? Okay. If you have the choice of coming to my class or not, okay, which means that if you remember, let us say that I do not take attendance. أنا ما باخدش حضور وانصراف. Okay? So whether you come or you do not come, you still can go to the final exam and pass the course. Okay, so in that case, if I tell you that if you want to come, you are welcome. If you don't want to come, you are still welcome. It means that you have the choice of coming to the class or not coming to the class. Okay, in that case, you have a problem because you have a choice. If I told you that if you do not come to my class, and if you did not satisfy the 30% absence and presence percentage required for you to go to the final, in that case you have no problem at all. You have to come to the class because you are rational. You know what is best for yourself. انت راجل رشيد، تلميذ رشيد، وعارف ايه المطلوب منك، وانت عارف انك لو ما حضرتش المحاضره هتاخد غياب وبالتالي هتترفد، مش هتخش الامتحان according to university rules. But in my case, remember, you don't have to come to the class. You have the option. In that case, you have a problem. Okay? Suppose that you are a good student and you decided that I want to go to Shireen's class because I learn something with Shireen, or I have fun when I go to see Shireen. Okay? In that case, you're going to tell yourself this is the best choice. Okay? And it is definitely the best choice. But the question is, because you have a choice to make, because you don't have to come to my class, remember, you are not obliged to come to my class. ما انتش مجبر على حضور محاضرتي. In that case, by coming over, you encountered a sacrifice, whether you like it or not. انت عملت تضحية سواء عايز او مش عايز. What is the sacrifice that you made? It all depends on the second best thing that you could have done and you didn't because you attended my class. دي هتتوقف على تاني احسن حاجة انت كنت هتعملها لو ما كنتش جيت للمحاضرة بتاعتي. Why do we say the second best thing? Because we assume that you are rational. انت رشيد. You know what is best for yourself. انت عارف ايه اللي كويس بالنسبة لك. And as a result, you know that coming to the class is the best thing that you should do. But even though coming to the class is the best thing that you should do, actually you encounter the sacrifice depending on what was your second best choice. Let us say your second best choice, somebody will tell me I'm going to be sleeping in my home. I'm not asking anything of life other than sleeping. So I'm going to tell you, if this is your second best choice, by coming to the class, you sacrificed the amount of rest that you could have had and you didn't because you came to my class. Somebody else, let us say we have a female student, she was going to help her mother in the kitchen, okay? But by coming to my class, she sacrificed the amount of help she was going to provide her mother with, and she didn't because she came to my class, okay? Let us say that instead of coming to the class, you are going to be watching a movie on Netflix, or you're going to go to the movies. In that case, by coming to the class, you sacrificed the amount of entertainment that you did not enjoy because you came to my class. Okay? كنت عندك ترفيه وعندك حاجات كنت ممكن تحصل عليها لو رحت السينما وما رحتش عليها، ما حصلتش عليها عشان جيت للمحاضرة بتاعتي. Okay? Suppose that somebody will tell me, Doctor, it's neither of that. My second best choice would be to have tea. Okay? Or to eat a sandwich. But because I am coming to your class, I cannot do that. Okay? I was going to tell you that it is your sacrifice by coming to the class. It is, as long as this is your second best thing, okay? I'm going to tell you that it is the fun that you would have had and the enjoyment that you'd have had of food and drinks, and you didn't have because you attended my class. Every time you have a choice, you encounter a sacrifice. Example of opportunity cost. For example, assume that you attended the College of Agriculture, and assume that you pay every year £10,000. If you ask an accountant, what is the cost of my undergraduate education? He will tell you 10,000 plus 10,000 plus 10,000 plus 10,000. Okay? The 40,000 which the accountant came up with, this is called accounting cost. This is not the true cost. The true cost is called the economic cost, and it includes the opportunity cost. Because I was going to tell you, suppose that you did not come to school. Suppose that you did not go to the College of Agriculture for 4 years. What do you think you will be doing? What a rational person would be doing if that rational person did not attend school? Okay? And the answer is simply, definitely you will get a job. Don't tell me that you're going to be playing games on your mobile for 4 years. Don't tell me that. Okay? I know that you like that very much, but at least your father or the person in charge of you, because you are young, okay, he will tell you that, no, Habibi, you cannot do that. If you don't plan to go to college, you have to find a job and support yourself, because you're not going to rely on me for life, because I'm not going to live forever. That's what your father will tell you. In that case, when you get a job, okay, that job definitely you will get a job definitely because you need the money. That job will pay you money. Suppose that job will pay, I'm going to tell you a lousy number about the payment, £1,000 a month. Multiplied by 12, 12,000 pounds a year, multiplied by 4, 48,000 in 4 years. So actually, Habib Albi, the true cost, the economic cost of your undergraduate education is the 40,000 pounds that you paid for tuition and fees and food and everything that you pay for the whole year. I'm assuming that to be 10,000 just for simplicity, in addition to 48,000, okay, that you sacrificed, that you forgone, that you did not get, okay, that you did not enjoy because you attended school. So your true economic cost of attending school for 4 years is 40,000 pounds plus 48,000 pounds, which makes it collectively 80 40 plus 48. It will be 88,000 pounds. This will be your true cost of undergraduate education. Okay. Every time what applies to the individuals apply to governments. Okay. If the World Bank, for example, donated Egypt an amount of money, $10 million, to do developmental projects, مشاريع تنموية. In that case, Egypt will have a problem because they have to decide. Egypt needs the money to be spent on so many things: building schools, hospitals, improving roads, infrastructure, and 1 million things. Okay. Whatever, let us say that the government of Egypt decided that they're going to build the 2 schools and the 3 hospitals with the $10 million. In that case, and let us assume that this is the best that they can do. And the question is, first of all, does the Egyptian government have to spend that money on building schools and hospitals? And the answer is no. Because the World Bank told them take this money and invest it in any developmental projects. So the question is, what is the sacrifice now they made? It is what they could have done with the money, and they didn't because they spent that money on building, let us say, 2 schools and 3 hospitals. What that will be? What is the second? Probably improving, let us say, 1,000 kilometers of roads. Probably improving building a wastewater treatment plant. Probably cleaning the fisheries that are fully polluted in our country. So many things. Okay, every time here, as long as the government of Egypt has the choice of where to spend the money, okay, then they will encounter a sacrifice. So here we are talking about, okay, this is the main difference between opportunity cost and between accounting cost. Opportunity cost is part of the economic cost. The economic cost is the cost that you pay. Everybody will know what you call it, accounting cost, in addition to opportunity cost. So it says here, it is a very important concept in economics. مفهوم مهم جدا في علم الاقتصاد. It is actually the thing that differentiates between economics as a science and accounting as another science. It is a measure of sacrifice made by the different individuals or governments when making a certain choice, even though that certain choice is the best there is. Remember, if your choice is the best there is, okay, it means that as long as you have choices, it means that you encounter sacrifices. But in that case, the amount of sacrifice, because your first best choice is good, or the best there is, it means that you still have a limited amount of sacrifice. But there is a sacrifice. This is the most important part. There is always a sacrifice once you have a choice. Suppose the World Bank gave $10 million to Egypt and told them you have to spend that on building schools. In that case, the Egyptian government doesn't have a choice. And the Egyptian government in that case must spend this money on schools. Okay, and as a result, there is no sacrifice here. There is no opportunity cost here because there are no choices to make. I hope I made myself clear, and I think in my Shireen 3, I gave you 1 million example about that. Okay, as you can see here. Okay, we do not need to go through all that. I'm going to read it for you. Your weekly allowance, المصروف بتاعك الأسبوعي, is 200 pounds, and you have so many things that you can spend that money on. Assume you were hungry. So you went to McDonald's to buy a Big Mac combo that is worth, assuming that it is 18 pounds. I know it's not 18 pounds, it's much more than that. But يعني خدوني على قد عقلي. يعني consider me guys an idiot who still lives in the world of something else. Okay? Let us assume that this is what you really need, which is the Big Mac combo. Your first best choice. You made the best choice of spending the 18 pounds. The question is, did you make a sacrifice? The answer is yes, I made a sacrifice. This sacrifice is in the following form. I sacrificed what I could have done with the 18 pounds, which I spent on the Big Mac combo, and I didn't because I spent that 18 pounds on buying the Big Mac combo. What I could have done with that, this sacrifice could be in the form of whatever I could have bought with these 18 pounds and I didn't because I no longer have them. For example, buying a filet fish sandwich. Okay, if I did not buy the Big Mac combo, I could have bought a filet sandwich or a cappuccino in a cafeteria. Okay, so what I lost is the enjoyment from eating a filet sandwich, and I didn't because I spent the money on Big Mac combo or the cappuccino that will make me be able to think more better and be sober وفايق والكلام ده كله, and or whatever you will be spending your money on will be your sacrifice depending on what you really need. Usually we say that your sacrifice is measured by the second best thing foregone. Foregone means sacrificed as a result of doing the first best thing. في العاده بنقول ايه مقدار التضحيه ده عباره عن تاني احسن حاجه انت ما عملتهاش ضحيت بيها كنتيجه ان انت اخترت اول احسن حاجه. Governments also experience opportunity costs when faced with making choices. As I just gave you an example of that already. I'm just reading it for you. Since the budget of any government is limited. Okay? دايما الميزانيات بتاعت اي حكومه محدوده. And that not all could be done in the same time. الحكومات دي ما تقدرش تعمل الكلام ده كله وكل all the developmental projects at one point in time. For example, if the government builds 10, if governments build 10 hospitals, it is by definition sacrificed making something else, such as building 5 schools or improving 10 highways. If the government decides to strengthen the army, الحكومة كده قررت انها تقوي الجيش بتاعها by buying some fighter jets, okay, worth 10 million pounds, it will sacrifice whatever could have been done with that 10 million and the government didn't because they spent that money on probably they're going to improve some roads. Let us say 500 kilometers of roads, okay? This will be the sacrifice. The understanding of the concept of opportunity cost makes a big difference in differentiating between what is known as accounting cost to economic cost, and I said that at the beginning. We will discuss these two types of costs later when discussing cost. Inshallah, in the second semester, we will study the production side of economics, because in that semester, after the introduction that you will see, we will be discussing consumption theory, okay? And after that, we will be discussing production theory in the second semester, because we are agricultural economics. It talks about what the agricultural producer will do as an economic agent. We'll discuss that later on. Another example for opportunity cost, the government of Egypt is sure that people need hospital. Accordingly, the government decided to build 3 hospitals. This is since the amount of money available in the government's budget is enough to build only 3 hospitals. هم قرروا يصرفوا الفلوس على 3 مستشفيات لأن الفلوس المتاحة ما تسمحش إلا ببناء 3 مستشفيات. The question is, did Egypt make a sacrifice? And the answer is yes. Since the government could have used that money differently. الإجابة أيوة لأنهم عندهم اختيار. مش مجبرين يبنوا. They do not have to build schools. Okay? Sorry, they don't have to build hospitals. For example, the government could have built 5 schools instead. طب ممكن الحكومة تبني 5 مدارس بدلا. In that case, the amount of sacrifice Egyptian governments made is the 5 schools the government did not build because they spent that money on building 3 hospitals. I think this is clear. I give you 1 million example. I don't think you need more than that. Okay, now we will move to something very, very important. And because I remember when I was teaching, remember this is my 7th academic year teaching to first level students principles of economics. Lately, because before this is, as I started that in the academic year 2014, 2015. Before that, I was not in the country. Okay. Somebody asked me, I remember, "Ya doctor, is the science of economics is all about texts and words?" Which means that, is this economics? You're gonna be, sorry for that word, bullshitting us every time by the fancy wording you are using to tell us about the theory of economics. Is it words, and paragraphs? I'm gonna tell him, I used to laugh when I hear that question, because actually, as I told you, I don't know if I told you, I told somebody else, but I keep telling that over the years to all the students that I teach. You need some prerequisites in order to understand the economics. Prerequisites دي اللي هي متطلبات. واخد بالك؟ البريريكوزيتس عشان تفهم علم الاقتصاد عندك حاجه اسمها prerequisites اللي هي متطلبات. الحاجات اللي انت محتاجها عشان تفهم الايكونومكس. The most important prerequisite that you need, believe it or not, is mathematics. If you have a bachelor degree from the College of Science in mathematics, You can take a PhD from the best university in the United States of America, okay, in economics between 3 and 4 years, believe it or not. So you need mathematics, you need statistics, you need to know computer sciences, okay, in addition to economic theory, of course. These are the basis of knowing economics. So here, luckily for you, because you are in the first level, and this is principles of economics, luckily for you, we are using simple college algebra and simple and two-dimensional graphing. من حسن حظ حضرتك ان احنا بنستخدم هنا الجبر العادي، اوكي، اللي هو بنسميه college algebra. College algebra it means يعني not sophisticated algebra, the algebra that you studied in high school, اوكي، الجبر اللي انت درسته قبل كده. And the two-dimensional graphs اللي هي not a multi-dimensional graph. It means that the graphs are, we have horizontal axis and a vertical axis, والسلام عليكم, and that's all. Okay, and this is what we'll be using in our course, inshallah, from now on, because you need that a lot, and that's why I talked here about the use of graphs and mathematics in economic analysis. And inshallah, after I'm going to be uploading that video for you, I'm going to make another video using chapter 1, which is CH-1, اللي هي CH شرطة 1 اللي هي chapter 1 PowerPoint that is made by my friend who developed these PowerPoints. Okay, and we will be talking about some of the stuff that I missed in my video here, and it will be again repeated and shown in our next video, inshallah, that I will be uploading very soon, inshallah. Because here, remember, I don't have graphs to show you, but inshallah I'm gonna explain that later on. But let me just here tell you something that will prepare you at least for our next video. Okay, we use in economics the first quadrant. Okay, what is the first quadrant؟ اللي هو بنسميه المربع الأولاني حسب ما أنا يعني I did not study math in Arabic unfortunately, so يعني please do not laugh at me because I assume that they call the first quadrant المربع الأول. مش عارف اسمه إيه ولا الربع الأولاني، مش عارف بيسموه إيه في okay, المربع الأولاني. If you have something like this, for example, okay, this is x and this is y. Okay, we are working here. This is the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, remember, the value of whatever variable is measured horizontally, okay, is positive or zero at the origin طبعا. Okay, and in the first quadrant, the value of the dependent variable, which is whatever is measured on the vertical axis, is either positive or zero if you are talking about the origin. Okay, so we will be using that quadrant all the time. يعني يبقى عندنا quadrant عامل كده. Okay, هنا we have a variable, let us say x, we have another variable called y, and we will say that y is a function of x. Okay, so here we use in economics the first quadrant only. Why do we do that? Because in economics, the variables in the science of economics are either positive or zero. We do not have negative variables in economics. What are an example of an economic variable? What is a variable? A variable is something that takes different values. Okay, for example, an example of an economic variable is prices, the price of the product. Okay, the price of the product is either a positive value that you pay to obtain the product or free. It's a free product, you take it for free. Free يعني معناها price is zero. But have you ever heard about you pay money to somebody? Okay, let us say that somebody is gonna sell me a product. So he will sell me a product. He give me a product, and also you will give me the money. That's an example of a negative price. I give you the product, but please, when you take that product, also take some money with it, in order for you to accept to take the product. We do not have that in economics. Let us say a producer, another example, amount of production. Can you produce minus 10 tons? The least amount that you can produce is zero amount. You do not produce anything at all. I consume very less amount of consumption, another variable in economics. Can you consume minus 10? The least amount that you consume is zero or something positive. Okay? If you look at any economic variable, let us say amount of exports, الصادرات. For this country it is very very little. Very little. The least amount of exports is zero. Zero exports. You cannot have minus 10 exports. Okay. The same thing for imports اللي هي الواردات. We import nothing from abroad. Zero imports. Okay. All of the variables in the science of economics, okay, is positive or zero. Okay. Even the deficit اللي هو العجز في الميزانية. Budget deficit. The budget deficit is, let us say, $10 billion. Somebody will tell me it is minus 10. Yeah, it is minus 10 in the calculation of the budget. But actually it is, we owe, احنا مديونين to other countries by $10 million. We have to pay them $10 million. $10 billion. This is the meaning of it. So because in economics we do not have negative variables, we work in the first quadrant. The vertical axis اللي هو المحور الرأسي is called the y-axis. And I do not like, please my dear students, I do not like calling the axes y and x. I like to call them vertical and horizontal. Okay? Why did I say the vertical axis is called the y-axis? Because this is why they keep telling you all the time. But the question is, will it be wrong if I measure y here and x here? There is nothing wrong with it as long as I say in that case that x is a function of y. It is correct. Okay? But this is what you keep hearing. Horizontal axis اللي هي المحور الأفقي is called the x-axis. Okay? In mathematics, okay, now we're talking about facts and figures. Okay? In math, once you put y on the vertical axis and the x on the horizontal axis, by definition, whether you like it or not, you mean that y is a function of x. سواء انت عايز او مش عايز طالما است y vertically يعني رأسي و x horizontally, whether you like it or not, it means that y is a function of x, which is written just like this. This is called a function, a mathematical function. What does it mean? It means what is written here and only what is written here. Okay? It means that as x changes, y changes accordingly. طبعا, of course, it means that x and y are related. Okay? Supposedly, because if they are not related, you will never write it, because this is a function. A function is a mathematical relationship. If there is no relationship between x and y, okay, then you cannot put y as a function of x. When you put y as a function of x, it means that when x changes, we call x the independent variable or the explanatory variable, and y the dependent variable or the argument of the function. بنسمي x المتغير المستقل أو المتغير الشارح، وبنسمي y الارجيومنت اللي هي يعني النتيجة بتاعت الدالة، أو الديبندنت variable or المتغير اللي هو التابع. Okay? And this is the meaning of that. Remember, in other words, x is the independent or explanatory variable and y is the dependent variable or the argument of the function. Okay? When I say y is a function of x, I mean that x and y are related, and the type of relationship is that when x changes, y changes accordingly. يعني لما x بتتغير, y بتتغير بالتبعية. Okay? Remember here in this function, I am measuring y vertically and x horizontally. Okay? And that's y is a function of x. Okay? It does not mean that x causes y. Okay? مش معنى ان انا كاتب ان y is a function of x, it means that x causes y, يعني x بتسبب y. It doesn't. It is not necessarily true. Okay? It is not necessarily true. If you discover later that x causes y, you will obtain Nobel Prize winner, okay, in the sciences that you are studying. هتاخد جائزة نوبل, و at the same time it will be somebody that everybody will hear about in the news. Okay? Science all the time they try to find and fetch a causality relationship. العلماء بيحلموا يا عيني عشان يلاقوا علاقة سببية. حاجة بتسبب حاجة. We know very little about what causes what. As you can see, look at the coronavirus case. Look at the COVID-19 case. Till now, they do not know what caused the COVID-19 to happen. Okay? They do not know what that is, and probably they do not know we don't know a lot of things in our life, and there are lots of things in medicine. Why do I tell you in medicine? Because it's easier than to tell you in economics, for example. Why, for example, people get brain damage, why you get heart failure, anything like that. Okay, in economics, we don't know why we have a business cycle. Okay, but I know that in medicine it's much easier to understand than the example I mentioned about business cycles. Okay, because business cycles is a little complicated because none of you know what a business cycle is. But economists till now they do not know why we have business cycles. Why the economy, why the country at one time makes a lot of production and at one time makes a little production and then followed by a lot of production and little production and so on. Okay, they do not know why. But they know that this business cycle happen whether they like it or not. So their main job is to, knowing that it will happen, they want to reduce the ups and downs in the business cycle. Okay, it is like a wave, زي موجة بحر بالظبط. We know that there is a wave anyway. The question, we don't want the wave to be going up, very up, and then very down. Because if it does, we will die. We in economics try to make that wave as smoothly as possible. So when you are swimming in the sea, you are happy. So again, imagine that y, for example, the likelihood of you developing lung cancer, and the x is the frequency of smoking. Can we put y and x on a function? Yes, we can. The likelihood of you developing lung cancer اللي هي y اللي هي احتمال ان حضرتك يجي لك سرطان في الرئة. x the frequency of smoking اللي هي عدد مراتك للتدخين. We know that y and x are related. We know that the more frequent you smoke, the more likely you will develop lung cancer. Okay? Everybody knows that. But what we do not know, dear students, is that, okay, sorry, what we are sure of, sorry, not that's what we know for sure is that smoking does not cause like lung cancer. You got me? You got me in that example? I said, okay, the more you smoke, the more frequent you smoke, the more likely you will develop lung cancer. This does not mean that smoking causes lung cancer. It does not mean that. Okay? But it means that if you smoke very frequently, if you smoke a lot, you are more likely to develop lung cancer. Why smoking doesn't cause lung cancer? Very easy. There are people who die, there are children who die without even smoking. There are people who smoke like crazy and they live 100 years and more. Okay? So definitely we know that smoking doesn't cause lung cancer. But we know that smoking is a bad habit that contributes to your likelihood of developing lung cancer. We know that عارفين ان التدخين كل ما بيحصل بتزود احتمالية إصابة حضرتك بسرطان الرئة. This is just an example to tell you why we don't have a causality relationship for something that everybody believes that smoking causes lung cancer. Smoking يا حبايبي doesn't cause lung cancer. Okay? If X is how frequent do you smoke, okay, how many times a day do you smoke, how many packs of cigarettes a day you smoke, and if Y is the probability that you will develop lung cancer, okay, then the more you smoke, okay, the more likely you will develop lung cancer. It means that X and Y, when X increases, Y increases, when X decreases, Y decreases, but it does not mean that X causes Y. Okay, have you ever seen on a pack of cigarettes, they put for you that X causes cancer? Please read the packs of cigarettes and see what is written on them. Okay, they say that it is bad for your health, it might increase your likelihood of developing lung cancer. This is the meaning of any mathematical function. Now we come to the word f. What does it mean f? Okay, remember we have different types of mathematical functions. We have linear functions, quadratic, exponential, square root, cubic. Okay, so many types of mathematical functions. When I put y is a function equal f of x, it means that regardless of the mathematical shape of the function, it means that I do not care about the mathematical shape of the function, whether it is linear or quadratic or exponential or square root or whatever, or cubic or whatever. I have a mathematical relationship between x and y, which means that when x changes, y will change accordingly. How y will change depends on the shape of f, which I do not care about right here. Okay, in most of our course we will be using linear functions. Okay, we will assume linearity هنضطر للدوال الخطية in order to simplify the analysis and in order not to complicate the analysis. Despite that, we will see a lot of curves in economics. Hopefully by that part you understood what I'm talking about. Here it says, but this one again, I'm going to repeat it on once you see a graph, because I'm going to show you graphs and I'm going to show you that. If you have a straight line that is completely horizontal, here y, here x, and this is the straight line I'm talking about. Okay? Then the slope of that line is 0. حد هيقول لي slope يعني ايه؟ Slope, it means انحدار. يعني ايه انحدار؟ Okay? Remember in the past, when somebody tell you that the slope is 0, here. Okay? Here you're gonna say that, how can I know that the slope is 0? And you try to memorize. What I'm gonna be telling you, imagine yourself standing here. This is Shireen standing here. Do you think I will ever fall? Definitely not. Why? Because it is flat. It is completely horizontal. It is parallel to the horizontal axis. In that case, we say that the slope is 0. The slope is 0, it means that if you are standing on that line, you will never fall. Slope of that function is delta y divided by delta x. If y is a function of x, the slope of the function is delta y divided by delta x, which is what will happen to y when x changes by 1 unit, and I'm going to prove it to you in another set of slides why it is what will happen to y when x changes by 1 unit. Okay? This is, sometimes we call that, so delta y divided by delta, if you have a function, y is a function of x, delta y divided by delta x is called the first derivative of the function. It is called the slope of the function. Okay? It is called the rate of change of y with respect to x, اللي هي معدل التغير في y لما x تتغير. It is also called something in economics now, I'm going to add it, it's called the marginal function. But the marginal function, please forget it for now, we're going to talk about it later. Okay, what you have here in math is that when you have y is a function of x, the first derivative or the slope of the function is called the delta y divided by delta x, which in reality is limit delta y divided by delta x when delta x approaches 0, or dy divided by dx, but please forget about all that. For simplicity in economics, we're going to use delta y divided by delta x to indicate the slope. It means what will happen to y when x changes by 1 unit, when x goes up by 1 unit, or when x goes down by 1 unit. So if you have a straight line here that is completely horizontal, then the slope is 0. And here I told you, if you are standing on the horizontal line, you will never fall down. Okay? The opposite is exactly if you have a line, as it says here, if you have a straight line that is completely vertical. Here I have y, here I have x, and I have a line like that, parallel to the vertical axis. Now I want to know the slope of that line. The question is, imagine yourself standing here on the top. Do you think you can stand, or are you going to drop immediately? The answer is you're going to drop immediately. Do you know why? Because it is very, 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 very sloped. That's why we say here the slope is infinity. Here the slope is 0. Okay? Here, because the slope, because this line is very, very, very sloped, it means infinitely sloped. It has a slope of infinity, which means that delta y divided by delta x here is 0, delta y divided by delta x here is infinity. Okay? Here, what does it mean a slope of 0? If y changes, let us say, from 0 to 3, y changes from 0 to 3, what will happen to y? Suppose that x increased from 0 to 3. The answer is nothing will happen to y. The y value is always at the value of 5 here, or any other value. Whatever, if y keeps on increasing to infinity, nothing will happen to y. Y will remain at 5. That's why delta y divided by delta x here is equal to 0. Okay, in this case. Here, delta y divided by delta x is equal to infinity, which means that if x changes, let us say from here, let us say the value is 3, and it changes to 6 or 5, the whole y will change. The whole y will shift to the right. Okay? Here, because the slope is enormous, what a small change in the value of x will result in a dramatic change in the value of y. Okay? So if you have a straight line that is completely vertical, then the slope is infinity. The reason is that you cannot stand on that line without falling for 1 second. Okay? Any straight line that is steeper, يعني steeper line. Okay? Okay? In order to remember relativity in science, this is x, this is y. Suppose you have to have a line like this, okay, and a line like that. I'm going to call this one line 1, I'm going to call this line 2. In that case, I say that line 1 is steeper than line 2. Okay? Steeper يعني واقف أكتر من line 2. Here, the slope of line 1 is less than the slope of line 2. Okay? So any straight line that is steeper, standing vertically, okay, that is steeper more than another straight line, it means that the first is more sloped than the second. Imagine yourself standing here, you will fall faster comparing to yourself when you are standing here. Okay? If the relationship between the two variables is negative, and this is what I displayed in the past, here this is negative relationship. Okay? This is y, and this is x. Here, every time x increases, y decreases. If x decreases, y increases. In that case, we say that the relationship between x and y, it is negative. Okay, and as a result, the slope is negative. Okay, if the relationship between the two variables is positive, then the slope is positive. This is an example of a positive slope. This is x. Sorry, because I'm using the mouse. And this is y. A relationship like this is positive. Here, when x goes up, y goes up. When x goes down, y goes down. Okay? I said here after that, on page 20 of your PowerPoint materials of chapter 1, which I will cover inshallah in the next video, you will see curves. Okay? Remember here, all what I mentioned, remember I'm having a straight line here. Do not think this is a curve. Remember, I cannot with the mouse make a straight line. Okay? It is hard because my hand shakes. Why? Because I'm old. So do not ask me why it shakes. Okay? So here, I'm going to show you that when I go through chapter 1 PowerPoint, which will be our next video, inshallah, you will see that we have curves, not straight lines. So I'm going to tell you that the characteristics of the curve. One of the curves will look like, okay, I'm going to talk about the case that is written here. Here I have y and x, and I have a curve that looks like that. This is y is a function of x. Here, this is a smooth curve, supposedly. A smooth curve, it means that it is composed of infinite number of points. Okay? Infinite number of points. عدد لا نهائي من النقط. Okay? It means that we have, in general, a positive slope. As x goes up, y goes up. But y goes up at a decreasing rate. Okay? Here we say that delta y divided by delta x, which is the slope, is positive, but as x goes up, y goes up at a decreasing rate, يعني بمعدل متناقص. Till you reach that point, at that point the slope will be 0. Okay, you see here, if I take a tangent here, can I stand on the tangent? The slope is very high. Okay, as I move from left to right, in this direction, the slope keeps on decreasing. Positive but decreasing. At this point, it becomes a 0. If the curve after that goes down like this, it will become negative. So here it said in page 20 of your PowerPoint of chapter 1, the curve to the very left shows a positive relationship. It looks like what I graphed here at the beginning. But since we have a curve, we need to comment on the nature of the relationship. Here we have the following relationship. As x increases in value, y increases at a decreasing rate. This is what I just explained. Then y reaches its maximum value, okay, which is right here. This is the maximum value of y. Slope at this maximum is 0. Then as x increases, y declines. This is what I just graphed. Hopefully it is clear. Okay? Please prepare your questions for me when you see me next time about this relationship, because it is very important. In order to graph a straight line, you need only 2 points, even if that straight line is from here to New York City. From Alexandria to New York City. You need only 2 points. 1 point in Alexandria, 1 point in New York City. You connect, you have a straight line. And the slope of that straight line is delta y divided by delta x, and it is always constant. What does it mean constant? If I measure that slope of that straight line and the slope is 2, for example, It is 2 all the way on all the points from Alexandria to New York City. Which means, what does it mean a slope of 2? Suppose that delta y divided x is equal to 2 on a straight line. It means that as x goes up by 1 unit, y will go up by 2 units. Okay? If the slope is minus 2, suppose the slope is negative. What does it mean minus 2? It means if x goes up by 1 unit, y will go down by 2 units. Okay? So this is the meaning of that. Hopefully it is. For the second curve on the same page, as x increases, y increases at an increasing rate. This is the graph that he is referring to. You have something like this. This is y, this is x, and the graph looks like this. This is y is a function of x. Here, as x, remember, as x goes up, y goes up. But y goes up not at a constant rate. We don't have a straight line here. Y will go at an increasing rate. Measure the slope at this point. Take the tangent here. Measure the slope at this point. Take the tangent here. Okay? Can you stand here on the tangent? You will fall down immediately because the slope here is more than the slope here. You can stand here. You can stand at this point, but you cannot stand at this point. Remember, let me just erase it and make it better. Sorry for that. Sorry guys. Let me erase it and make it better because it's not clear. Let me make a tangent here. Okay, can you stand here at this point? Okay, you can stand here, remember, at this point. Okay, it's still sloped, but you can stand here. You cannot stand here. So as we move from left to right, as we move in that direction, delta y divided by delta x, which is the slope, what happens to y when x changes by 1 unit, okay, will keep on increasing. So if the slope at this point, for example, is 2, the slope is this point probably is 80. What does it mean slope of 2? It means that if x goes up by 1 unit, y will go up by 1 unit, or if x goes down by 1 unit, y will go down by 1 unit. Okay? If the slope is 80, it means that if x goes up by 1 unit, y will go up by 80 units, or if x goes down by 1 unit, y will go down by 1 unit. Okay, I told you that we need 2 points to measure, to graph a straight line, but we need infinite number of points to graph a curve. In order for you okay, a straight line from here to New York, you need only 2 points. And it has a constant slope. Delta y by delta x, once you get that slope value, okay, it is constant all the way. If it's 3, it is 3 all the way. If it is a curve, then you have infinite number of slopes. You need to measure the slope at each point on the curve. On each point of the curve, which has infinite number of points, at each point there is a different slope. And that's why when I try to measure the slope on a curve, I take the extreme cases. A point here and a point here to show you the difference. So for the second curve on the same page, as x increases, y increases at an increasing rate, the slope keeps on increasing as the value of x increases, which means that as x increases, the slope keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In order to measure, if I ask you, determine the slope of a straight line, it is very easy. Okay, you need 2 points, and you're gonna show me. I'm gonna show you how to make. Okay, for example, you have something like this. This is x, this is y, and this is the straight line. Okay, I have a point here, and I have a point here. Connect. I have that straight line. Now let me read that point, and let me read that point. This point is probably 6 and 2. This point is probably 3 and 4. What is the slope here? Delta y divided by delta x. Okay. In that case, okay, it depends on where do you start. Okay. When x was 6, y was 2. When x got reduced to 3, y got increased to 4. Determine the slope. In that case, delta y divided by delta x is equal to y1 minus y2 divided by the x1 minus x2, because delta y, it means the first y minus the second y, and delta x means the first x minus the second x. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you put y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, or you put y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2, but the problem is to be consistent. If you say y1 in the numerator في المقام, sorry, في البسط, if you say that here you put y1 minus y2, then downstairs it has to be x1 minus x2. If you put upstairs y2 minus y1, then in the denominator اللي هو المقام you must put x2 minus x1. So what is the slope here? Okay, here I have, can I consider, if I consider this one y1, then by definition this has to be x1. If I consider this to be y2, then by definition this has to be x2. Now let me determine the slope. y1 minus y2, 4 minus 2, divided by x1 minus x2, 3 minus 6. 4 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 6 is minus 3. The slope is simply minus 0.67. What does it mean, slope of minus 0.67? It means that as x goes up by 1 unit, y will go down by 0.67 units. Okay, this is the meaning of it. Okay, and that's why every time they tell you what will happen to y when x goes up by 1 unit. Remember here, x did not go up by 1 unit. X went up by 3 units. And as a result, y went down by 2 units. Okay? But the number that we got here, which is minus 0.67, which is delta y divided by delta x, or the slope, is what will happen to y when x changes by 1 unit. Here, x increased by 3 units, not by 1 unit. Okay? And as a result, y decreased by 2 units. But the answer that I got here is minus 0.67, because this tells you what will happen to y. Y will drop down by 0.67 units if x increases by 1 unit. This is the meaning of the slope. Okay? I am done with my class. I hope that you got benefited. Please, inshallah, I know that we still have 57 students only got their emails, university email addresses activated on Microsoft Teams. So as a result, very few of you will be able to see the video. But please bug me with questions. Okay? لو سمحت اعرفوني أسئلة. Whatever you dream of, okay, in math or not, please bug me with questions. اقعد اعرفني زي ما أنت عايز بالأسئلة. I like very much the question. The more you ask, the more you will hear from me, the more you will understand. Okay? There is nothing as in science is called it is just like that. Okay? There is nothing such as it is just like that. Everything has a reason. Hopefully, I benefited you in that 1 hour and 33 minutes of lecturing. Please go through the materials. Please check slide 20 on chapter 1, which I will go through anyway, whether you like it or not, in video 2. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.